The queen asked him in the throne room because she wanted the answer to sound small. Something practical, something she could file beneath debt, duty, or primitive human attachment. But when Commander Adrian Vale lifted his eyes from the marble floor and looked past the jeweled court to Princess Lyessa beside the throne, the chamber felt the shift before he spoke. Outside the crystal windows, the war moons of Avaris burned red above the capital, and every noble in that hall knew the question was not casual, because Adrian had been offered ships, land, titles, and safe passage back to Earth. And he had refused all of it, remaining in an empire that had once put chains on his wrists and called him spoils. So when Queen Avaris asked, "Human, why do you stay?" the court leaned forward, expecting diplomacy. And Adrian looked at her daughter and said, "Because she is still here." That was the moment the room forgot how to breathe. Nobody moved, not the generals, not the priest's caste, not even Lord Turnan, who usually treated silence like a defect. Lyessa did not speak, though Adrian saw the tension in her hands. Queen Avaris studied him with that sovereign patience that had broken diplomats and admirals alike. Then asked whether he thought such an answer was enough. Adrian could have softened it. But surviving the prison pits of Karad and the burning skies over Demo's Reach had burned politeness down to essentials. "Enough for what?" he asked. "For the weight of your loyalty." The queen said, "For the future of your life. For the insult you just handed my court, as though my daughter alone explains your refusal to leave." Murmurs spread through the hall, but Adrian did not look away. 3 years earlier, he had crashed on Avaris soil during an invasion, fought until the last magazine, and been dragged into chains beneath towers while cities burned. Lyessa had come to the cells in dark ceremonial armor and asked why humans kept fighting when surrender would preserve more life. He had answered, "Because some lives are spent the moment they accept the wrong bargain." She had never forgotten that. Neither had he, and now. Before the empire that had once treated him like salvage, he said the truth plainly. "I stay because your daughter listens when others want obedience. Because she sees citizens where this court sees statistics. Because when the outer colonies starved, she opened the grain vaults and took the political wound herself. And because leaving while she carries all of this alone would feel like cowardice. A loyal human is dangerous. A loyal human who has chosen his reason is worse." Queen Avaris rose and descended 2 steps from the throne. Her crown catching crimson light from the moons, she asked if he believed himself in love, and the court nearly broke itself trying not to stare. Adrian could have hidden behind the word. It would have made the answer prettier. But courts preferred pretty lies, because pretty lies were easier to survive than honest ones. So he said, "Not in the way your court means it. Not in songs, not in ceremony. I stay because she matters where it counts. Because when your admirals wanted to glass the rebel stations, she demanded boarding actions instead. Because she asks what things cost after the victory speeches are over. And because every enemy this empire has keeps betting that compassion makes her weak. I know better." The queen looked at Lyessa then, truly looked, and asked the real question hiding beneath all the others. "If my daughter dies in this war, will you still remain?" Adrian answered without pause, "No, because then I would only be serving your throne. And I have never mistaken your throne for the reason this world is worth saving." Half the court went pale, the other half furious. Lord Turn stepped forward in a wash of silver robes and called him disloyal, manipulative, compromised by proximity to royal blood. He said the human had made Lyessa soft, too willing to treat commoners like citizens instead of assets. Lyessa cut across him before Adrian could answer. "If compassion sounds like corruption to you, Lord Turn, then corruption has been speaking in this court too long." That was when the alarms began. Holographic battle maps burst above the chamber. Red signatures knifing through the northern shield arc. Panic started in the back ranks. But Adrian was already moving toward the tactical display. Lyessa beside him without hesitation. He read the vectors once and said the breach was a feint. The real strike was aimed at the transit spires behind the palace. Hit the evacuation lattice and the capital chokes itself trying to flee. A general protested that the northern arc was already engaged. Adrian snapped, "Exactly. That is where they want your attention." Lyessa turned and issued his correction under seal. Batteries pivoted, interceptor wings broke formation, and when the second wave burst from the shadow beneath the red moon, the palace guns were waiting. The battle above the capital lasted minutes. Long enough for towers to burn and raider cruisers to fall bright as new suns when the final alert faded. Smoke drifted past the crystal dome, and the throne room smelled of ozone and scorched metal. Queen Avaris dismissed the court until only a handful remained. Then she looked from the tactical board to the human who had saved her capital in the same breath he had insulted her throne. And for the first time, there was no mockery in her gaze. Only exhausted clarity. "I asked why you stayed," she said. "And you answered with my daughter. Now I think I asked the wrong question." Adrian said nothing, so the queen answered it herself. "You stayed because there is still something here worth defending that is larger than power and more fragile than victory." Lyessa's eyes met his then, bright, steady, alive, and Adrian felt the old certainty settle in his chest. The same one that had kept him in chains and burning skies over a world not his by birth, but his by choice. "Then stay," the queen said. "Not as prisoner, not as guest, not as a favor. Stay because this crown will need people who can tell the difference between an empire and the lives that justify it." And when Adrian bowed at last, it was not to the throne, but to the woman beside it. The one who had made staying feel less like surrender and more like the last honorable answer left.